The jungle was not meant for people like her. But Zara didn't care anymore. She had once dreamed of a quiet life in the hills with a man who swore he'd never leave her side. That dream shattered 2 weeks before their wedding, when she discovered he had not only been lying about his past, but was secretly engaged to another woman in a neighboring city. Her world collapsed, and with it, her faith in people. So, with nothing but a backpack, her sketchbooks, and 3 animals she had rescued over the years, a timid dog named Chotu, a baby deer she called Bindi, and her faithful donkey Modi, Zara disappeared into the jungle. It wasn't the wilderness that scared her. It was silence. At first, she found an abandoned forest post near a slow-running stream, the roof half caved in and walls draped in vines. It was perfect. Within days, she made it livable, rebuilding the fire pit, fashioning a small cot from branches, and using fallen banana leaves for shelter. Her animals adjusted quickly. Chota chased fireflies at night, Bindi nibbled on ferns with innocent wonder, and Modi stood guard outside the hut as if he understood the fragility of Zara's heart. She spoke to them often, not out of madness, but because they listened. Each morning, she wandered deeper into the jungle, gathering wild berries, roots, and herbs. She bathed in the stream, washed clothes on rocks, and cooked meals with the discipline of a soldier. Nature became her companion, unjudging, silent, pure. She began to find comfort in its indifference. Yet even in paradise, the past crept in like fog. She had brought along a worn-out leather journal, once gifted by her ex-fiancé. She used it now to write unsent letters to him, pages filled with anger, confusion, and eventually numbness. Some days, she tore them out and fed them to the fire. Other days, she reread them aloud, her voice cracking as she imagined him listening. But no one ever came. One night, while sitting by the fire, Zara looked at Modi and smiled faintly. "You're the only male who never lied to me," she said, tossing him a piece of roasted yam. He chewed slowly, blinking under the orange glow. In that moment, she felt a strange comfort, a fragile peace built not on trust, but on quiet coexistence. The jungle didn't judge her heartbreak. It simply absorbed it. Zara didn't realize then how long she would stay, or how this isolation would test the deepest corners of her mind. But for now, she was safe. Alone, yes, but not broken. And somewhere, beneath the layers of grief, something inside her was beginning to stir again. Days melted into weeks, and the forest began to feel like both home and prison. The silence that once offered Zara peace now echoed with memories she couldn't silence. Every rustling leaf, every snapping twig stirred a hope she couldn't bury, that maybe, just maybe, someone had come looking for her. She began talking to the animals more frequently, as if they were her audience and her counsel. She told Chota stories from her childhood, whispered secrets into Bindi's delicate ears, and often sat beside Modi, stroking his coarse mane like he were an old friend who had never left her side. It wasn't madness. Not at first. It was survival. Her journal entries grew darker. She no longer wrote to her ex-fiancé. Instead, she wrote to herself. Fragmented thoughts and tangled emotions spilled across the pages like ink bleeding through cloth. "Is it better to be alone or lied to?" she once scrawled. "If animals can be loyal, why can't people?" One rainy afternoon, trapped inside her hut as thunder rolled through the sky, she imagined a man standing at her doorway, drenched, out of breath, calling her name. He had kind eyes and strong arms. He carried no camera, no lies, no past. Just love. When she blinked, he vanished. Reality returned with the dripping of rain through the cracked roof. Modi stood at the entrance, his body shielding the others from the storm. Zara smiled sadly. "Even my dreams are more faithful than the men I knew." That night, something changed. Sitting by the fire, Zara looked directly into Modi's eyes and spoke not with words, but with longing. "Do you think I'm crazy?" she whispered. He blinked slowly. "You've never left. Not once." Her voice trembled. "If only you could talk." She reached out, resting her hand on his cheek as if trying to feel life beyond species, beyond understanding. In that moment, her loneliness blurred the boundaries between companionship and illusion. Modi stood still, gentle, unmoving, like he knew she just needed presence, not answers. The forest was no longer just a place to hide. It had become her mirror. Her pain echoed in its emptiness. Her longing took shape in dreams that vanished with the dawn. The more she clung to silence, the louder her emotions screamed. On the 30th night, she wrote one line in her journal before sleeping. "I don't know if I need to be found, or if I've already found what I was searching for." But she hadn't. Not yet. Something, or someone, was about to shatter the delicate world she had built. It was early morning when Zara first heard it, a faint rustling beyond the trees, heavier than the steps of any animal she knew. Her pulse quickened. She stood still, listening, her hand instinctively resting on Modi's neck. For weeks, the jungle had belonged only to her and her animals. This was different. This was human. A man emerged from the underbrush, tall and dust-covered, holding a camera slung across his chest. He froze when he saw her, startled as if he hadn't expected anyone to live this deep in the forest. "Don't be afraid," he called out, hands raised. "I'm not here to hurt you." Zara didn't speak. Her eyes narrowed, measuring him like a wild animal deciding whether to flee or fight. "I'm Samir," he said, stepping closer but keeping his distance. "A filmmaker. I'm documenting disappearing forest life, plants, animals, the people who live off the grid. I didn't know anyone stayed this far in." Still silent, Zara gestured for him to sit near the stream. Her voice, when it came, was steady. "You have 5 minutes." Samir smiled, sensing the weight of her solitude. "I've walked 3 days without seeing a soul. Then I find you. That's something, isn't it?" Against her better judgment, Zara offered him water. Over the next hour, they spoke cautiously, he about the cities he'd filmed, she about the simple life she'd built away from them. He didn't pry. He didn't pity. And that, oddly, made her feel seen. By the next morning, he was still there. He had set up a small tent near the edge of the clearing. He helped repair the broken roof tiles of her hut, offered to cook using herbs he carried, and never once crossed a boundary she didn't allow. Chota warmed to him first, then Bindi. Even Modi, usually wary, stood beside him without protest. Zara began to let her guard down. She found herself laughing at his stories, pausing her walks to see what he was sketching in his notebook, and wondering how he made loneliness feel less suffocating. "I think you're the story," Samir said one evening, eyes soft. "Not the jungle. You. A woman who ran away, built a life here, and survived." She looked away. "This isn't a story. It's a scar." He didn't respond. Instead, he handed her a mug of warm tea and sat beside her in silence. And for the first time in weeks, she felt almost human again. But what she didn't know, what she couldn't yet see, was that Samir's lens had been watching more than just the jungle. He had secrets too. And they would surface sooner than she imagined. It began with a sound she hadn't heard before, a soft, mechanical click in the silence of the forest. Zara turned her head toward the sound, curious but not alarmed. Samir was inside his tent, or so she thought. But when she stepped closer to the tree line, she saw the faint glimmer of a lens hidden among the leaves. A camera, recording, pointed directly at her hut. Her breath caught. She followed the cable back toward a camouflaged tarp, her fingers trembling. Beneath it, she found a small cache of hidden gear, memory cards, batteries, and labeled folders. One read, "The Jungle Woman." Another, more chilling, read, "Raw confession clips, emotional highs." The world fell silent around her. She pulled the folder open. Dozens of thumbnails loaded on the camera's screen. Footage of her sitting by the fire, talking to Modi, washing at the stream, even the moment she wept in the moonlight, clutching her journal like a lifeline. Private. Vulnerable. Exploited. Samir had not come to find a story. He had come to make one. And she had given him everything. When he returned that evening, humming as if nothing had changed, Zara sat on the stone near the fire with his camera in her lap. He stopped mid-step. His smile faded. "How long?" she asked, voice cold, steady. He hesitated. "Zara, how long were you filming me?" He tried to reach for the camera, but she pulled it back. Her animals stirred nearby, as if sensing the tension in the air. "It wasn't what you think," he said. I didn't plan to at first. But your story, it was raw, real. People need to see that kind of truth." "You filmed my grief," she whispered. "My healing. You turned my pain into content." Samir stepped forward. "Please, let me explain." But Zara didn't need explanations. She needed distance. She stood, her hands shaking but her voice clear. "Leave. Now. And if I ever see this footage online, I'll make sure the world knows exactly who you are." He opened his mouth to speak but found no words. In minutes, his tent was packed. He left the jungle the way he came, in silence. Zara burned the remaining equipment that night, one piece at a time. She sat by the fire as the camera melted into unrecognizable ash. Chota curled at her feet. Bindi rested near the stream. Modi stood beside her, still as ever. She reached for her journal and wrote only one line. "You can betray a heart, but not a soul that has learned to be alone." By morning she was gone, deeper into the forest, beyond where any path led. And in the hush of the jungle, all that remained was the whisper of leaves and the quiet loyalty of animals who never once broke her trust.